All right. Here we are. We got a lot to cover today. Oh, hello everyone. I'm back from the doctor, back from my most recent migraine treatment. Hopefully that will kick in nicely. And now it's time to look at some Warhammer community and some chaos. First, let's take a look at this old world almanac. And for our next trick, we got some wizards. So now I need to read these because I won't always recognize what's old and what's new. The true power of chaos is a dark, distinct speck on the horizon, decades away, as are the colleges of magic, but wizards still practice throughout the realms of men. Because if I remember correctly, Old World is currently set, I think it's 80 years before Archaon's invasion of the Mortal Realms. Or not the Mortal Realms, of the Old World. I think it's around that time. Status of wizard varies greatly from one province to another. In the Reichland seat of Cult of Sigmar, magic is almost universally outlawed and its practitioners are often burnt at the stake as witches. In neighboring Talabicland, by contrast, where the worship of Tal is commonplace, wizards enjoy great freedom. Does not say whether or not the wizards are new wizards or old wizards, but I really like this guy. Look at this guy. This guy's awesome. I mean, this guy's pretty cool too, but this guy's awesome. Also, the freaking great paint jobs on these as usual. Ooh. This guy's also awesome. More little dudes. But yeah, look at this staff though. Just absolutely fantastic paint jobs. I'm guessing that each one of these is wizard and familiar. In this case, a necromancer. Chat's being a bum. Come on, chat. Work. Log in like proper, darn it. There we go. So she's clearly, question mark, one of the virtuous ones. All three wizards will be available at some point in the new year. They're sold individually, accompanied by the familiars, of course, and are made from Forge World resin. So these are probably new Forge World sculpts for Old World. Although they do still occasionally use Forge World in old pewter kits, though for some reason they've decided to do white metal for some of the Old World stuff. Like if it is a previous white metal kit that they're bringing back for Old World to help make sure that you've got all the models you need for your Old World army, they're still doing them in white metal. All right, but now for why we're really here. Grotmas calendar day 16. Have yourself a ruinous little holiday. Grotmas is a spiritual time, a time to give thanks to your patron deity, whoever or whatever they may be. So whether you're eating too much, fighting with family, feeling sick from all the food, or covered in like 87 iridescent new eyes, we've got a Chaos Demon detachment for you. Give thanks for the Legion of Excess, Plague Legion, Blood Legion, and Scintillating Legion. Chaos Demons do not share the agendas of mortals, striking whenever opportunity arises within the unfathomable confines of the warp, to wreak havoc and sow despair upon whichever unfortunate foe contests them. As is often the case with demons, however, working in an orderly and cooperative manner isn't high on their list of priorities. So to further their patron's goal, some greater demons will rally their minions and puncture into real space with violent intent or a grander plan in mind. Just as planned. The Legion of Excess is only one of the facets of Slaaneish's will, offering great reward to those willing to take risks through the seductive Gambit detachment rule. Oh no. Oh, please don't tell me you brought that rule from AOS. That rule is so bad. It is such a bad rule. Please don't tell me that you brought it. You give up the opportunity to fight first after making a charge for rerolls to hit and wound. Okay, it's not the same roll, but you give up the opportunity to fight first after making a charge for rerolls to hit and wound, daring your opponent to make their attacks matters before doom surely befalls them. They have access to stratagems in every phase of the battle, highlights of which include Phantasmal Longing, allowing movement through terrain features, and Sensory Excoriation, which causes battle shock tests for all units on the battlefield within your army's Shadow of Chaos, including your own. You'll always have ways to heal your units while reveling in despair of your opponents, as long as you are favored by the Dark Prince, of course. We'll go to those downloads in a second. The Plague Legion brings the torturous body horror of Nurgle. Aha! That's weird. Well, thank you for pointing that out, Tiresias. I'm not sure what's going on there. It shouldn't be saying I'm in PoE. Like the title, which platform are you watching on? So you're on Twitch and it's saying that I am playing PoE, huh? Weird. Well, let me manually change it on Twitch then.
If she decides to get a little...
Pardon that. Oh, okay. It's listing the game as Path of Exile. Okay. I don't know how that ended up that way, but we are switching it to Warhammer. So that should do that. Might take a bit to... Yep, okay. It's showing as Warhammer on my screen now. I don't know how that happened. I do not know how that happened. But thank you very much for pointing it out. And hello, Judgy. All right. Oh, it actually tells me. I can see the little Twitch icon by Tiresias and the YouTube icon by Judge. All right, where was I? Something about Nurgle plaguing things? All right, their detachment rule, Melancholic Miasma, reflects this well, giving all Legionis Demonica Nurgle units a plague aura that forces enemy units to suffer a battle shock test, inflicting mortal wounds through the Shadow of Chaos. Their enhancement encourages a steady advance, empowering those within range of the monstrously bloated Great Unclean Ones. The Font of Spores improves the armor penetration characteristic of their weapons, and even outright destroys enemies who stray too close to the Fecund Nightmare, who bears the Canker Blight. Wow. Canker Blight. Gotta love all of these Nurgle names. Enhancement, although the ancient ones will probably be a lot of fun too. Nurgle demons gain speed with the Merc Shadow stratagem, while should their numbers begin to fall, life can be born anew with the Fetid Resurgence, restarting the cycle of suffering once more. Never to be outdone, Khorne's Blood Legion is desperate to enact vengeance, using their Murder Call detachment rule to surge into combat. Their enhancement encourages destruction and bloodshed in every way, sometimes to themselves. Khorne cares not, after all. Should a Khornate monster fall in battle, it will drag foolish opponents down with it using the Gateway unto Damnation enhancement, triggering empowered and very likely deadly demise. Similarly, Bloodletters have been blessed in brass and can use the Sheathed in Brass stratagem to laugh off withering hails of bolt gun fire with a, albeit temporary, 3+ save characteristic, and return some festive skull hurling to batter cowards into a pulp from afar. And finally, the maddening machinations of Tzeentch often require odd sacrifices to achieve long-term success. The Fates in Flux detachment rule will have you and your opponent trading resources, which can be used in strange and wondrous ways, and mastering the fraying weave will surely bring the greatest successes. or the most pain defeats. But you can always rest knowing that it was just as planned. Never wanting to play fairly, Tzeentch demon monsters can cheat the most basics of rules using the Infernal Puppeteer enhancement to channel through a lesser demon and measured range and line of sight to and from their ranged attacks. Never picking a fair fight, should your Tzeentchian Nightmare be caught in combat, you can use the Flickering Reality stratagem to roll a d6 and simply prevent all unmodified hit rolls of that number. What? Potentially even removing the chance of critical hit effects should Tzeentch deem it necessary. And then for tomorrow, great gifts indeed from the Big Four. Tomorrow, we return with another true meaning of Grotmas, profit, as embodied by the Leagues of Votann. So we get our squats tomorrow. All right. Let's see what the detachments actually have to say. I hate how the website kind of does that. All right, here's Plague Legion. Boop. Scintillating Legion. Boop. Blood Legion, and the Legion of Excess. And one day squats will likely have more than 6 units. Here's hoping they've got more models coming for them with when they get their codex. They really do need it. I will say this, there's like 2 units that people don't use in the Votann army. So right now, all of those units are getting used, but the worst part is one of the ones that doesn't see play is Uthar the Destined. He is just not considered particularly efficient. All right. So Legion of Excess. Our detachment rule is Beguiling Aura. The demons of the Dark Prince can bewitch the minds of their foes, appearing in one moment as their true and nightmarish selves, and in the next as the object of the foe's most forbidden desires or devoted affections. Enemies are left foundering and bewildered as demons weave the sinuous dance around them and trill their nerve-shredding siren songs. Legion's Demonicus Slaanesh units from your army are eligible to declare a charge in a turn in which they fell back, okay? So if you're playing a Slaanesh army, and here's the thing, I so far don't see any rules otherwise, so you can still include other demon allies, it looks like, but if you're playing a mostly Slaanesh army, then that is an army-wide fallback and charge. That is a good roll. Where I'm worried is the Seductive Gambit roll. Temptation is a deadly weapon in the arsenal of the demons of Slaanesh. To tease warriors' pride with visions of martial glory, or to lure the deluded and desperate into a bladed embrace. They delight in dangling themselves like bait or feigning helpless weakness, then striking with savage release at their overextended foes. Legion's Demonicus Slaanesh units from your army have the following ability. Seductive Gambit. Each time this unit ends a charge move, you can declare it will perform a Seductive Gambit. If you do, until the end of the turn, this unit does not have the Fight First ability, but instead, each time a model in this unit makes an attack, you can reroll the hit roll and you can reroll the wound roll. So this is going to be a very tricky one to use. Reroll hits and wounds is very, very powerful. Ask any Space Marine player who got to play with Old Oath of Moment. I don't know if you got to play with Old Oath of Moment, Teresi or Sir Judge. I know you both play Space Marines. But I don't know if you got to play with Old Oath, but it was pretty strong. Of course, now you've both got access to New Oath. So congratulations to that. But yeah, reroll hits and wounds is strong. But so is the charge bonus. Like, Fight First is really, really powerful. You kind of want to keep it. So the only way I can really see this being used to your benefit is either you use this, and I should note that you can declare it. You don't have to use it. So you're already getting fallback and charge. And then this is something extra you can do. So the way you'd probably want to use it is you would legitimately, Trissus, actually play the game. I mean, that would be cool one day. I just stare at my pile of shame for the most part. I know that feeling. Although I do also stare at my painted minis. There's a reason they're in display cases. But yeah, the way you would probably want to use this, the only time you'd actually want to activate this is if you're confident you can take the hit, or you want to give your opponent bait. Like you want to try to play some mind games with your opponent. So let's say let's say you've got just for simple numbers, you've got 3 units in combat and your opponent has 2 units in combat. All right. You could use this and basically say, okay, I'm going to try to lure you into killing this trash unit. Like make it seem like this is the only opportunity you've got that you're going to get during the fight phase. All right. And then basically try to get them to make a mistake when it comes to their fight sequencing. So in other words, you've already got, a couple of fights going on and you charge in. Well, it's their turn. Well, if you use this on your charging unit, it's their turn. They get to pick first. You might potentially kind of screw them up, and you get them to pick the wrong combat to fight first with, when there's another combat you care a lot more about. But this is definitely going to be one where it's kind of I'm going to say you're not going to use it a lot. Like, I don't think you're really going to use this a lot. Fights first is just too powerful. But when you can use it, you are going to enjoy using it. Can't quite make out the emote. Looks kind of like anger. But it is also a Crash. Welcome, Crash. All right, let's look at the enhancements. False Majesty and Aura. Auras are usually good, 30 points. Dripping poisonous finery and stalking across the battlefield with regal arrogance, this demon evokes in its fellows the jealous need to outshine its magnificence. Legionis Demonica Slanesh model only, while a friendly Legionis Demonica Slanesh unit, excluding monsters, is within 6 inches of the bearer. Each time a model in that unit makes a melee attack, add 1 to the wound roll. Bam, +1 to wound. And if you are in an opportunity where you can use Seductive Gambit, that's +1 to wound and reroll wounds. So you put this on your keeper, and basically all of your other units other than other keepers. I don't think there are any other Slanesh monster models. But most of like your army, like your demonettes and your heralds and stuff like that, they'll all get +1 to wound. So a +1 to wound aura is freaking fantastic. I'd pay 30 points for that every day. So that's a good enhancement right off the bat. Dreaming Crown, also an aura, 30 points. This gilded circlet fills mortal minds with waking dreams potent enough to intoxicate and distract even the most disciplined or alien combatants, leaving them easy prey for demons of Slanesh. Again, one of your character models, while a friendly Slanesh unit excluding monsters is within 6 inches of the bearer, each time a model in this unit makes a melee attack, add 1 to the hit roll. I sense a pattern. Yeah. Guys, this army just got hella strong. This is like old 7th edition Death Star strong. You have 2 keepers in your army, one of them with False Majesty, the other with Dreaming Crown. Yeah. That's crazy. That is a lot of strength. Avatar of Perfection, 15 points. This entity is the corporeal embodiment of selfish arrogance, fighting best when it fights alone. This has to go to one of your monster models. So this has to be a keeper. The other 2 you can put on like a herald. At the start of each phase, if there are no other friendly units within 6 inches of the bearer, pardon me, You can reroll advanced rolls made for the bearer, reroll charge rolls made for the bearer, ignore any or all modifiers to its move characteristic, and to any advanced and or charge rolls made for the bearer. So you are fast and nothing stops you from being fast. So if you have a Keeper of Secret with a need for speed, which I imagine most Keeper of Secrets actually do have, then this is for you. And again, 15 points is pretty good. This is going to be hard picking the enhancements, although these two I think are auto-include. I think you always take False Majesty and Dreaming Crown. And then Soul Glutton. 10 points. This Demon Lord guzzles souls and its bloated corporeality, reknitting with each fresh morsel. Another has to be a Keeper of Secrets. At the end of the fight phase, if one or more enemy models were destroyed this phase as a result of one or more of the bearer's attacks, it can use this enhancement. If it does, it regains up to D3 lost wounds. Important point here, if one or more enemy models were destroyed this phase. How hard is it for your Keeper of Secrets to kill one model in combat? Yeah, every turn you're in combat, you're going to get to use this. So this is actually tricky. This is legitimately a tricky place. I still think you probably go Avatar of Perfection, but Soul Glutton is not bad. So this is an S tier enhancements. These are S tier enhancements. It's just a question of which, whether you take Avatar of Perfection or Soul Glutton. You're going to take False Majesty and Dreaming Crown. Again, you want to put it on you want to put them both on Keepers. Now, obviously, taking 3 Keepers of Secrets is going to be expensive, so you may not take Avatar of Perfection or Soul Glutton. But you can take these on a smaller model, but obviously, the bigger the base, the more area you're controlling with the aura. So, the bigger the Death Star you can make of your other Slaanesh units. So, just something to keep in mind with these enhancements. But yeah, this is like if there is an S plus tier to have, this is a damn near S plus tier enhancement section. All right, let's look at the stratagems. Thieves of Pain. 1 strategic ploy and 1 CP strategic ploy stratagem. To exist, however fleetingly, in real space is an opportunity to indulge in every physical sensation. So enraptured do the demons of Slaanesh become that they even steal one another's agonies to enjoy. Any phase just after an attack or mortal wound is allocated to a model in a Slaanesh unit from your army, excluding monsters. Select one other friendly Demonica unit within 12 inches of your unit. Damn, Malf is doing the sticky thing. Until the end of the phase, while the selected unit is on the battlefield, each time a model in your unit would lose a wound, inflict 1 mortal wound on selected unit instead. We have not seen a lot of this in 10th edition yet. The stratagems like this used to be, I wouldn't say they were common, but you did see these before. I find it interesting they're bringing it back for Slaanesh. But basically, yeah, this allows you to distribute your damage. So if you've got, a nice tough unit, like a unit of Seekers or something like that, and you have some demonettes fighting on the front line, and you want to keep those demonettes alive, either to gum up your opponent, or to, because you decided to use this and you want to keep them alive in order to hit back with the reroll hits and wounds, then you can use this. So this is interesting. It's curious to see this back. I'm not sure how good damage sharing will be in this unit or in this army. Legitimately, armies in 10th edition are much tougher than they have been for a while in 40k, especially 9th edition. Like, they legitimately did make the game less lethal. So there is potential for you to use this to, actually affect. I will be honest, though. I honestly do not know how good or how often you're going to use this one. So we'll move on to the next. And it is a 2CP. So it's got work to do. Arch-agonists, I believe is how they want you to pronounce this. Pardon me. These demons perceive with absolute clarity whereabouts on their victim's body they must strike to inflict the greatest possible excess of suffering. Use in the fight phase, you pick one of your units, or you pick up one of your monster units, or you can pick two non-monster units. So you can use this on two. You can use this on 2 units. So 2 CP is 1 CP per unit. I don't think you were probably going to end up using this on a monster then, so you're probably going to pick keepers and demonettes or something like that. But until the end of the phase, each time a model one of those units makes an attack, add 1 to the wound roll. You're not taking this. You're not using this. You are almost certainly not going to use this. It's only useful if you can put it on 2 units. And you're going to be using this instead. You're going to be using False Majesty. So this is anti-synergy was the way the army is telling you to play it. So this is a bad stratagem. Sensory Excruciation, 1 CP strategic ploy. This entity causes the battlefield to flicker wildly between the debauched Slaaneshi warp interstice and the most brutally mundane reality, faster than even supernatural senses can perceive. The result is a psychically devastating barrage of excess and deprivation. You use this in your command phase. You pick one of your monster units, so this has to be a monster. Again, I can't remember if Slaanesh have any non-character monsters other than their keepers. Each unit on the battlefield that is within your army's Shadow of Chaos must make a battle shock test, subtracting 1 from the test if they are below half strength. The designers note, they mentioned this in the article, this stratagem forces all friendly and enemy units alike within your army's Shadow of Chaos to take a battle shock test. This can allow a Chaos Demons player to heal units from their army's Demonic Terror army rule at the risk of causing some of their own units to become battle shocked. So if you don't remember how that works, if you are in your Shadow of Chaos and you pass a battle shock test, I think you heal D3 wounds. By contrast, your opponent loses D3 wounds. Takes D3 mortals, I believe is how it's phrased. So yeah, you're gonna use this one. You are going to use this one, especially if you've got your keeper in combat or surrounded by a decent number of units that it can affect. And especially if you've managed to claim the mid-board, so you've spread your shadow into the mid-board. Phantasmal Longing, 1 CP strategic ploy stratagem. Against their wills, enemy combatants find themselves wishing for demons of Slaanesh to draw closer. It is child's play for the demons of Slaanesh to harness such strong emotions and transform them into manifest reality. Used during your movement phase or your charge phase, and you pick one of your units. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit makes a move, it can move through terrain features. Here's another one we're seeing of this. And again, you're probably going to use this on one of your keepers because they're the ones that needs to move through terrain the most. Because obviously all of your infantry can already do that, but I believe Seekers are mounted, so this is also useful for them as well. Let alone the chariots. Oh man, I cannot imagine trying to maneuver an exalted chariot around a competitive 40k board. That just sounds like torture. I'm on you. Stupid little bottle cap seal. Cavalcade of Blades. This is a 1 CP battle tactic. The cavorting approach of Slaaneshi demons is hypnotic and enthralling. It's a whirling carousel of eye-searing colors and flashing blades that tempts mortals to reach out with trembling eagerness until they can just reach. Like trying to stick your finger in the fan. Used during your charge phase just after a Legionis Demonicus Slaanesh unit from your army ends a charge move. And then you pick that unit. Select one enemy unit within engagement range of your unit. Then roll 1d6 for each model in your unit that was within engagement range of that enemy unit. So if you hit with a really big demonette brick and you can get a bunch of models in range, then you can really do some damage with this. Or roll 6d6 instead if your unit is a monster unit. Okay, such as, are the chariots vehicles or monsters? I don't know. But if you're, obviously, again, keeper secrets. For each 4+ that enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound. I don't see a cap on this. I would not be surprised if this gets eroded to have a cap. So I would probably, I'm going to rate this expecting that they're going to eventually put a cap on this. Because you get a brick of, if you can get a brick of demonettes into a decent sized unit, especially if you're actually playing against another horde where it's easy to get more of your models into base-to-base contact or into engagement range. Yeah, that's a lot of mortal wounds. that unit's going to be in trouble. All right, overwhelming excess. 1 CP battle tactics stratagem. Sensation gushes relentlessly into the overstimulated minds of the enemy until their souls strain to fit to burst. Barely able to think or function, they recoil in their desperate need to stem the unstoppable tide. Use in your opponent's shooting phase just after an enemy unit has selected its targets. And you take 1 Legionis Demonicus Slaanesh unit from your army that was selected as the target of 1 or more of the attacking unit's attacks. Again, this is shooting phase though, so you're not going to be using this with your temptations. Effect. The attacking units must take a battle shock test subtracting 1 from the result. And again, synergizes with Shadow of Chaos. If the test is passed until the end of the phase, each time a model in the attacking unit makes an attack that targets your unit, subtract 1 from the hit roll. So worst case scenario, -1 to hit. If that test is failed, in addition to being battle shocked until the end of phase, the attacking unit cannot select your unit as the target of any attacks. That unit can then select new targets for any attacks that targeted your unit. So best case scenario, you do D3 mortals, and whatever unit you was being shot at is now protected. So this is a fantastic strat. This is useful. This is utter trash. Like, I think this is the worst stratagem I've seen in these new detachments. This, I'm pretty sure, is just good. Because remember, you do have to get them in engagement range. And again, I'm expecting this to be eroded to have a 6 wound cap. But so I'm going to say this is good. Spending 1 CP for a decent amount of mortals is always good. There's a reason people use the grenade strat. This is really good. Again, like, especially if you're on a competitive 40, like if you're in a more open board, you're obviously not going to use this. But if you're like on a competitive table or a WTC table or something like that, you're going to use this. And then this is going to be situationally useful. So this is a pretty decent suite of stratagems. This is probably an A tier list of stratagems, even with the utter trash that is this stratagem. I would still put this in the A tier at minimum. So we've got A tier strats, an insane suite of enhancements, and then, again, worst case scenario, you've got basically army-wide fallback and charge. And fallback and charge is great. It's just great. So, you know, there are definitely better detachment rules out there, but this is still a good detachment rule. So this is going to be a playable detachment for someone who wants to play Mono God. And remember, one of the things, like most other detachments, there have been exceptions, but like the vast majority of detachments so far in 10th edition, this may be the Slaanesh detachment, but there is no rule in this detachment that says that you cannot take Khorne, Nurgle, or Tzeentch demons. It's just that all of the rules affect Slaanesh demons. So if you want to just take some Nurglings to just camp your backfield or like go up and gum up the enemy, you can totally still do that. They won't be supported by the rules. That's the only problem. So yeah, that's 1 down, 3 to go. Let's see how the blood will flow. All right. Detachment rule, murder call. The demons of Khorne are physical manifestations of rage, hate, and the desperate need to shed blood. For as long as their physical forms remain in real space, they will never cease their murderous rampage. Each time an enemy unit, excluding aircraft, ends a normal or advanced move within 6 inches of one or more Khorne units from your army, one of those units can make a surge move towards that enemy unit. To do so, roll a d6. Models in your unit move a number of inches up to this result, but your unit must end that move as close as possible to that enemy unit. When doing so, those models can be moved within engagement range of that enemy unit. A unit cannot make a surge move while it is within engagement range of one or more enemy units. So, just a reminder, surge moves have been nerfed. Now, this is obviously post that nerf, and it has some of the wording that's already added. But remember, each of your units can only make a single surge move per battle round. You're only allowed 1. So basically, this allows you to inch your units closer. Now, here's the big deal. This is not so much that you have this because you're going to get extra speed out of this. This is forcing your opponent to make 7-inch charges. That is what this rule does. So because of the fact you can surge move into engagement range. So remember, the trigger is 6 inches. So they have to stay outside of 6 inches of your models. Anytime they inch closer than that, there is a chance you get into engagement range. And remember, on their turn, you get to declare who gets to fight first in the fight's normal step. So they do not want to get into engagement range with you. They want to get their charges off. They want their fights first bonus. So what this does is it forces your opponent to play cagey. So this is not as strong as other surge moves that have existed. Like, it is not as strong as, like, for example, Endless Swarm surge move. But it is still a very, very useful rule to have. Is it as useful as an army buff rule like we just saw? That's debatable. This really depends on your opponent. And again, this is also going to be very conditional. There are lots of armies out there, especially with the Grotmas detachments, where you can get some bonuses to your charge rolls, and making a 7-inch charge is like, oh, that's no big deal. I'll make a 7-inch charge. You got crazy, you've got crazy armies that want to try to charge out of deep strike or do stuff like that. So this is a very, very situational for an army rule, but we do have another one to look at. Now, real quick, I want to see. NZC. Each time an enemy unit ends a normal or advanced move within 6 inches. Interestingly enough, pardon me, this does not include setting up. Now, at least for the time being, and I don't expect them to change this back, you cannot set up within 6 inches. They have nerfed all of those rules. So anything that said, from my GSC to Aquilons to Retaliation Cadre, any rule that says set up within 3 inches and then lose charging doesn't exist anymore. But there is one exception to this that should not trigger this. But I do think, I think there's going to be some debate, so they might have to, because on the one hand, like most rules like this, it does say that you count as making a normal move. But you're also technically setting up, not moving. And they have in the commentary said that setting up is not the same thing as moving when it comes to triggering rules. And that is disembarking from a transport. In theory, you can disembark from a transport within 6 inches. And there is argument to say that the Khorne demons can't surge towards you. So that's one I'd like to see a clarification on. My gut tells me that's an oversight. My gut tells me they want you to be able to surge move. But I think there's going to be some arguments about that. Blood tainted. Lifeblood spilt by the demons of Khorne is tainted by the infernal touch, staining the ground with dark murder. At the end of phase in which a Khorne unit from your army destroyed an enemy unit that was within range of an objective marker at the start of the phase, if your unit has a higher level of control over the objective marker, that objective marker remains under your control until your opponent's level of control over that objective marker is greater than yours at the end of the phase. So it's sticky objectives, but you have to kill something. One moment. All right, both of these are useful. Both of these are useful detachment abilities to have. Sticky objectives is useful, surge moves are useful, and particularly this kind of surge move that is going to force KG play out of your opponent. I would even go so far as to say that this is a better surge move roll than Endless Swarm's surge move roll. But yeah, so these are both useful. How useful are they? This is one where it's really going to depend on the skill of the people playing. So, like, just right off the bat, sticky objectives is it's so generically useful. It lets you turn board control into objective control, basically. So, I don't know. I think I just need to keep going and read the rest of the detachment. All right, Slaughter Thirst. Here's another aura. 35 points. This servant of Khorne is a walking nexus of bloodthirst, its mere presence whetting the keen edges of demonic blades and appetites alike for slaughter. Khorne model only, while a friendly Khorne unit excluding monsters is within 6 inches of the bearer, weapons equipped by models in that unit have the lance ability. Okay, this is a good aura to have. My only complaint is there's a bit of anti-synergy here. That's my only complaint here. Because obviously, like, one of the things you might end up doing is surge moving into combat. Surge moving is in a charge, so therefore it doesn't trigger lance. But if you do not care about your detachment roll, if you treat this mostly as just I am making my opponent play KG so that I have a better chance of getting my charges off, then this is good. So I think if you're playing this detachment, you are going to take this. But I do kind of wish it had like some kind of more synergy between the two roles. But yeah, so you're going to take this. All right, Fury's Cage, 20 points. The Bloodthirster bound within this weapon offers the wielder immense power, but seeks every way to turn its towering wrath upon its jailer. I can't talk today. Khorne doesn't want to talk. Khorne wants to fight. All right, so one of your Bloodthirsters. Each time the bearer is selected to fight, it can use this enhancement. Actually, Juggernauts, I think, are monsters. And I think the Lord of Skulls might be a monster, but I don't think the Lord of Skulls is a character. But I can't remember if Bloodletter on Juggernaut is a character monster or if it is a character mounted. If it does, the bearer suffers D3+1 mortal wounds, and until the end of the phase, each time it makes an attack, you can reroll the hit roll and you can reroll the wound roll. So that is a very powerful combination of buffs. Reroll hit and wounds on anything is very good. Reroll hit and wounds on a Bloodthirster. That's mean. But your Bloodthirster is going to be taking damage. It's going to be taking an average of 3 damage every time it activates this. So you're going to want to use it where it counts. Very, very fluffy, very fitting. 20 points. I think this is probably a take or leave. Brazen Maw. 15 points. This demon's maw and throat are forged from burning brass, transforming its war cries into a deafening clarion that calls the Blood Legion to war. Legion's Demonica Khorne model only. Add 2 to charge rolls made for the bearer's unit. What did I just say about a lot of these detachments having charge bonuses now? And that's 15 points. Yeah, no, you're taking that. You are taking that. Gateway unto Damnation, 10 points. Concealed was in this demon's form as a portal into the depths of Khorne's realm. Anointed was gore and thrown wide by the demon's corporeal demise, it expands like a bloody singularity to drag everything in reach into the screaming maelstrom of the warp. Khorne monster only. The bearer's deadly demise ability inflicts mortal wounds on a d6 roll of 2+ instead of on a 6. In addition, if the bearer has destroyed 1 or more enemy units this battle, the bearer has the deadly demise d3+3 ability instead of any other deadly demise abilities on its datasheet. Yeah. So you never want to, like, you don't usually spend points on an enhancement for a character with the plan of the character dying. But if you're one of those people that just can't avoid throwing your Bloodthirsters away, like you just have to charge them in and kill as much stuff as you can, regardless of the cost, this is going to be fun. So yeah, so you're definitely taking Slaughterthirst. You're definitely taking Brazen Maw. So, but the other two are not as good. Like they're not as good. This is nowhere near the enhancement section that the Slaanesh detachment had. All right, Wrath Undeniable, 1 CP strategic ploy. Even the banishing blow is often not enough to prevent demons of Khorne from lashing out to take bloody vengeance as they discorporate. Use in the fight phase just after an enemy unit has selected its target. Pick a Khorne unit from your army that was selected as the target of 1 or more of the attacking unit's attacks. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit is destroyed by a melee attack, if that model has not fought this phase, we know what this is. It's 4-up fight on death. 1 CP, 4-up fight on death is a good roll. It's a good stratagem to have in your pocket. Blood Begets Skulls, 1 CP strategic ploy. The iron reek of mortal blood pulsing through living veins fires the unnatural senses of Khorne demons, drawing them on all swift... dragging them... come on, get over here. Get over... No, Carnaf, no, come... Get over here, Carnaf, heal! Yeah. The iron reeks of mortal blood pulsing through living veins fires the unnatural sense of Khorne's demons, drawing them on all the swifter to tear, slay, and hack skulls from the necks for mighty Khorne. Using your charge phase, you pick a Khorne unit. Till the end of the phase, your unit is eligible to declare a charge in a turn in which it advanced, 1 CP advance in charge. Honestly, I won't lie, I don't know why the detachment rule isn't just advancing charge. We're talking about Khorne after all. But it does feel like they are trying to be just a little bit more judicious with advance in charge. But I got it. Vanguard Onslaught has advance in charge on basically all of the units you take in Vanguard Onslaught. So why not Khorne? All right. Gore Hungry Onslaught. 1 CP strategic ploy. The manifest will to run down and slaughter their prey allows the demons of Khorne to surge through physical barriers as though they did not exist, falling upon their victims like bloody phantasms. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit makes a move, it can move through terrain features. We already saw that with the Slaanesh one, and I already said this is a great stratagem to have, especially for your monsters. And mounted, you're probably taking, if you're running Khorne, you're probably taking Juggernauts. So I can't remember if they're mounted or monsters, but either way, they can't move through ruins. So being able to just 1 CP and just charge your Juggernauts through solid ruins and stuff like that, yeah, no, that's powerful. All right, here's another 2 CP. This is a strategic ploy stratagem, Fool's Flight. Khorne's demons know only hatred and contempt for those who flee from combat and will distort reality to keep such cowards trapped in the endless battle they sought to escape. Use in your opponent's movement phase just after an enemy unit falls back. Pick one of your units from your army that is within 6 inches of that enemy unit and would be eligible to declare a charge against that enemy unit. Your unit now declares a charge that targets only that enemy unit and you resolve that charge. Note that even if that charge is successful, your unit does not receive any charge bonus this turn. So again, you do still get to declare who gets to fight first. This should be 1 CP. This should be 1 CP. There is no reason for this to be 2 CP. Heroic Intervention is 1 CP. A lot of the also gets to heroic stratagems we've seen have been 1 CP, although at least one of them was a 2 CP strat. Out of phase charge without charge bonus should be 1 CP. And this is so easy to escape. So you do this just after the unit falls back. So basically they have made their fallback move. If this is like a Terminator brick, they're stuck in combat with you. If you are, if it is a, anything with a 6-inch move, like, there's a decent chance they won't be within 6 inches at the end of that, depending on what the combat looked like ahead of time. So anything 6 inches or greater, there's a chance you're not going to be able to even use this. And then you can only declare them as a target. So if they can fall back behind one of their units, like it's way too situational. There's way too many ways to stop it. Yeah, this should be 1 CP. At 2 CP, this is garbage. So we got another garbage 2 CP strat. Skulls Beget Blood. 1 CP strategic ploy stratagem. Torn from the wet and ragged necks of worthy mortal champions, these skulls blaze with balefire as the demons of Khorne heft and hurl them. They explode amongst the foe to shed more blood for the blood god. Okay, use this during your shooting phase. You pick a Legions Demonica Khorne infantry or Legions Demonica Khorne mounted unit from your army, excluding units that fell back this turn. Pardon me. And that is not within engagement range of one or more enemy units. Select one enemy unit that is not within engagement range of one or more units from your army. Wording on this is weird. So you pick your unit, but you can't pick a unit that fell back, and the unit can't be within engagement range. Select one. Oh, enemy unit that is not within engagement range. Okay. And is within agents of it. Okay. Oh! Do you know what this is? Do you know what this is? Although I'm curious that it didn't include, like, it made an advance roll or something like that. This is grenades. They gave Khorne grenades. So Khorne has grenades now, except instead of grenades, they're skulls. Cool. All right, then. Well, grenades is a good strat. This is a good strat. Sheathed in Brass, 1 CP Battle Tactic Stratagem. The scorn of these demons for the blasts and blades of the weakling foes manifest as flowing brass armor that enfolds their corporal form and denies all but the most dolorous of blows. Use in your opponent's shooting phase just after an enemy unit has been selected. Pick one of your Khorne units from your army that was selected as the target of one or more of the attacking units' attack. Until the end of the phase, models in your unit have a save characteristic of 3+. This is not an invuln. You're just bumping up your save to 3+. So basically, you are giving your units armor. So like, for example, Bloodletters, I think, are a 5+. They're either a 5+ or a 6+, so this would make them 3+. So if your opponent is just shooting at them with anti-infantry weaponry, that ain't gonna fly, potentially. All right. So Fight on Death is great. Advance and Charge is great. Moving through terrain features is great. Grenades is great. Giving them a 3+ save is okay. It's something your units didn't have to before. And again, if they get if the enemy unit has some AP in that, I mean, obviously you're not obviously going to target in this anything that's going to lower the 3 to a 5. Like, you're not going to use it in that case. But if it's one of those cases where, like, you know, you've got like intercessors shooting and one of them is also shooting a crack grenade at you, you might still use it and then you'll still get your 5 up. But yeah, this is a pretty good stratagem section. Like, this is, with the exception of this one, I would say we're looking at an A to S tier stratagem section. We're looking at I'd say A tier for the enhancements. A lot of this is situational, but at the bare minimum, sticky objectives is good. Sticky objectives is always good, especially since, remember, controlling objectives spreads your shadow of chaos. So keeping control of those objectives is great. So this is good. I don't think this is as good as the Slaanesh detachment is. I think Khorne players are going to be jealous of Slaanesh players. Now, to be fair, Khorne did just receive a tiny buff. Bloodletters went down in cost, so they're a little bit cheaper, a little bit easier to field now. So this is, I think, a good detachment. I think Khorne players will have fun with this. They are probably a little miffed that they don't have like two of these enhancements in their army. But hey, at very minimum, this stratagem here, Fool's Flight, this is just overcosted. It's not that this stratagem is bad, it's that it's not worth doing at 2 CP. This stratagem is garbage. Like, in this army with these enhancements, that stratagem is garbage. All right, Scintillating Legion. And then give me one moment. All right. Fates in Flux. With every chance for change seized, every new fraying of Fate's weave, the demons and their foes alike fuel the power of Tzeentch, however inadvertently. You start the battle with three flux tokens. We recommend using a dice to track how many flux tokens you have. Or you can just make some cool little Tzeentch counters or something like that. You can spend 1 flux token just after an advance roll, hit roll, wound roll, damage roll, saving throw, or hazardous test is made for one of your unit or one of your models or units. So model or unit, basically depending on the test you're doing. All right. To reroll the result of that throw or test. You can also be spent to enhance the effects of some stratagems. So you can use them for rerolls or you can use them on strats. Each time you spend a flux token, reduce the number of flux tokens you have by 1, and your opponent gains a flux token. Whenever your opponent has 1 or more flux tokens, they can spend 1 flux token after an advance roll, hit roll, wound roll, saving throw is made for the model, not hazardous test. So you get advances, hits, wounds, damage, saving throw, and hazardous tests. They get advances, hits, and wounds and saves. So they can't reroll their damage and they can't reroll hazardous. If they do so, they reduce the number of flux tokens they have by 1 and you gain a token. This is ignored if your opponent has the Fates in Flux detachment rule. So if you are both playing this detachment, you each both get 3 flux tokens, and then you gain the flux tokens when your opponent uses them. And then that's it. Okay, so if both of you are playing Tzeentch, both of you are playing this detachment, as you spend your flux tokens, you give them to your opponent, but then as they spend the flux tokens you gave them, they do not come back to you. In your command phase, if your opponent has 1 or more flux tokens, you gain a flux token. So you will keep getting more of these as you spend them, providing your opponent does spend them. So unless you and your opponent are both playing Tzeentch, this will be a resource you are trading back and forth throughout the game. When using fast dice rolling, this rule can be used to spend any number of flux tokens up to the amount you have to reroll a number of dice up to the amount spent after rolling multiple rolls or saving throws at once. I like the fact that they keep making sure to incorporate fast dice rolling in these. Technically, in many cases, this is giving you an advantage, but it speeds up and makes the ease of play so much better. All right. So the good things about this is your flux tokens are more powerful than the ones you give your opponent. And of course, you start with flux tokens, your opponent doesn't. This is a very go second rule. Like, this is one of those cases where you want to be going second because then your opponent has to do their first turn without having any flux tokens. Then you get to do your response with your flux tokens, and then you start trading them back and forth. Obviously, your opponent is going to want to make sure that they spend all of their flux tokens, both to make sure that they are gaining the benefits and to make sure you don't gain any flux tokens afterwards. So this is interesting. That's what I'm going to say. I will definitely say this is a fun and fluffy rule. But that is all I will say about this rule, is that it is fun and fluffy. Giving your opponent rerolls is not something you genuinely want to do, or generally want to do. So even though you're getting better rerolls, you're still giving your opponent rerolls. So you are basically buffing both your detachment and your opponent's detachment, but your opponent already has a buff from their detachment. This is the only buff you're getting from your detachment. So the rest of the detachment has some work to do. So as fun as I think this rule is, the rest of the detachment is going to need it to do something in order for this to be worth playing from a matched play perspective. All right, Inescapable Eye, 10 points. Glinting where the demon's eyes should be, this fracture gem reveals the myriad paths of the future. One of your Tzeentch models in the command phase if the bearer is on the battlefield. If your opponent has one or more flux tokens, you gain one additional flux token. Note... Oh, no, I was wrong. In your command phase. So you don't take this. Your opponent is going to use the flux tokens. Like, think about it. Just play, do some game theory here. Play the game, okay, in your mind. You are your opponent. All right? If I use all of my flux tokens and give you if you use, I am your opponent. So you use all your flux tokens and you give me 3 flux tokens. All right. What am I going to do? All right. Am I going to use all of those flux tokens to make sure I am getting more reliability from my units? Regardless of what that reliability is I'm looking for. Am I going to be using those flux tokens? And then you will then get to do the same thing on your turn 3 times. Or am I going to not use those flux tokens or only use 2 of the flux tokens you just gave me to increase my reliability, hang on to one of them, and then during your turn, you will then get to increase your reliability 4 times. All right? I'm not going to do that. Now, let's change the game again from this enhancement, all right? You gave me 3 flux tokens. Now, do I increase my reliability 3 times during my turn? Or do I increase it 2 times, hang on to one of them, and then during your turn, you get to increase reliability 5 times? No! No! Do not take this. Even if you're playing this detachment just for the fun and fluff of it, don't take this enhancement. That is trash. That is an absolute trash enhancement. Don't take it. It's a waste of points. All right, Infernal Puppeteer, 10 points. To this mighty entity, lesser demons are but prisms through which its power shines. This is one of your monsters, so Lord of Change. Each time the bearer is selected to shoot, you can select one other friendly Tzeentch unit within 9 inches of the bearer. If you do, when selecting targets for ranged weapons equipped by the bearer, you can measure range and determine visibility from one of the models of your choice in the selected unit instead. So you get to shoot through another unit. That's good. Ask an Eldar player, that's good. Yeah, this is good. You're taking this. All right, Neverblade, 20 points. Shipping. It's a shipper. I ship my Lord of Change with your Keeper of Secrets. Hot bird on goat action. All right. Shifting its shape tirelessly from sword to staff to glaive, this bizarre demon weapon makes a mockery of even the most determined defense. One of your keepers, again, I can't remember if Tzeentch have any monster characters besides keepers. Improve the strength, or sorry, not keepers, Lord of Change. I got the keeper stuck in my head from the previous joke. All right. Improve strength characteristics of melee weapons equipped by the bearer by 2. Improve the attacks and armor penetration characteristics of melee weapons of the bearer by 1. And each time the bearer makes a melee attack, add 1 to the hit roll. 20 points, yes, please. A Lord of Change may not be a Keeper of Secrets or a Bloodthirster. They're still actually pretty freaking good in close combat. Yeah. Buffing their weapons like that is pretty freaking awesome. Yeah, that is crazy for 20 points. So yeah, so these two are auto-include. Well, auto-include depending on how many keepers you... Or, god darn it. Depending on how many Lord of Changes you take. Improbable Shield, Aura, 30 points. Complex convolutions of ever more unlikely fate wind about this entity, confounding the mightiest and most esoteric attacks. Pick one of your Tzeentch models for it. While a friendly Tzeentch unit is within 6 inches of the bearer, models in that unit have a 4-up Feel No Pain against psychic attacks and mortal wounds. So 4+4 Feel No Pain against psychic attacks and mortals in an aura. I think this should be cheaper. But you'll probably take it because mortals are in the game. Psychic attacks, not so much, not unless you're fighting Grey Knights or Thousand Sons. Or to be fair, I do use decent numbers of psychic attacks in my army. But like mortal wounds are definitely a thing in the game, as we've been seeing from these detachments. You know, mortal wound bombs are a thing. Custodies just got their mortal wounds buffed, so... Pardon me. All right. Oh, man. Don't get allergies. It's a trap. I'm telling you. I don't even know why I accepted that particular gift from Nurgle. All right. Impossible Eclipse. 1 CP strategic ploy. At the call of this malevolent entity, invisible stellar bodies slide into alignment, plunging the battlefield in a momentary twilight, dancing the strange and sorcerous will-o-wisps. Use any phase. So pick a monster unit from your army that is on the battlefield. Select No Man's Land or your opponent's deployment zone, or spend 1 flux token and select both. Until the end of the phase, the selected area of the battlefield are within your army's shadow of chaos. Dude. This might as well read in your reinforcement step. The good news is you can use this in your command phase, and you can use it again in your reinforcement step. Because the only limitation on this is that, like all strats, it's once per phase. This is incredible. This is a fantastic strat. This just bumped up this detachment a tier. Like, I'm not joking. Like, that is a good strat. It is yet more reason you're never taking this enhancement, because your opponent's gonna, I'm not giving you more tokens. But this is a good strat. Yeah, this is the kind of strat that you build around, that you plan your gameplay around. And it's 1 CP. This is actually legitimately one of those strats that might be worth being a 2 CP. But yeah, this is a great strat, especially where this detachment is concerned. All right, we keep going. 1 CP for Fateborn Nightmares. Strategic ploy, barred doors, reinforced windows, or walls are no barriers to the children of the warp. They cannot be outrun, they cannot be hidden from, they cannot be stopped. I wonder what kind of stratagem this is. Do I see until the end of phase each time a model unit makes a move, it can move through a terrain feature? Yes, I do. Why didn't they just give all of these? I guess flavor. Just flavor it for each of the detachments, I guess. But they easily could have used the same name like they do for Space Marines and Armor of Contempt. Although even then, they gave Grey Knights true silver armor, so... Yeah. This is a good strat. Pyrogenesis. 2 CP. Here we go again. This is a battle tactic. Warp Flame is as changeable as the monsters who wield it, capable of easily burning through ceramite plates or reinforced hulls when desired. Use either in your shooting phase or any fight phase. Pick a Tzeentch unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot or fight that phase. Until the end of the phase, add 2 to the strength characteristics of weapons equipped by models in your unit, or spend 1 flux token and add 3 to the strength characteristics of those weapons and improve the armor penetration characteristic of those weapons by 1. Did they do it? Did they actually make a strat that is worth 2 CP? Plus 2 strength. Even before we get to spending the flux token. Just ask a Blood Angels player how good plus 2 strength is. This is a good strat. I am legit saying this is a good strat. It's expensive. You're not going to be able to use it all the time. But you're going to try to get yourself into position using the other combinations of tools at your disposal. And you're going to try to burn something to the ground using this. Like, this is a good strat. So this has been a pretty kick-ass stratagem section so far. All right, Fickle Fire. 1 CP strategic ploy. These demons care little for who they engulf in their infernal fires, only that destruction and chaos are wrought. Use in your shooting phase 1 of your units from your army that is within engagement range of 1 or more enemy units. Until the end of the phase, enemy units are not considered to be within engagement range of your unit for the purposes of selecting targets for and resolving attacks with ranged weapons. Until the end of the phase, each time an enemy model is destroyed, while its unit is within engagement range of your unit, roll a d6. On a 5+, your unit suffers 1 mortal wound after the attacking unit has finished making its attacks. Okay, so we just saw a stratagem like this for Chaos Demons, for Chaos Knights, where you swamp down an enemy unit with cultists, and then you use that strat, and then you're blowing up your cultists and you're blowing up the enemy unit. Now, that was much harsher on the cultists. I think it was a 4-up on the cultists. But then Tzeentch is a lot more evasive, a little bit more, tricksy, so it being a 5-up is okay. Now, what would be really cool is if this counted as... This might actually count, depending on how they decide to rule, because you could legitimately argue this comes from an attack. All right, now I have to look up something. I have to pull up Index Demons because I want to read a rule, and if you guys are paying attention, can you guess what rule I want to read? Can anybody guess what rule Jason is thinking of, or Z if you prefer? I'm trying to have my online persona be Z. But by reflex, I mean spin my name for 44 years, coming on 45. Can anyone guess what rule? I am looking at that and going, He says. Split. Each time a pink horror or blue horror model in this unit is destroyed, after the attacking unit is finished making its attacks, if this unit is not destroyed, roll 1d6 for that model. On a 4+, if it was a pink horror, add 2 blue horror models to this unit. And if it was a blue horror, add 1 brimstone horror model to this unit. Gee. Guys, this strat section is fire. This stratagem section is legitimately fire. How appropriate considering which faction we're talking about. We have a warp fire tier stratagem section. Flickering reality. 1 CP strategic ploy. The very stuff of reality flickers like a candle flame in a gale, frustrating even the most skillful sorters as they strike at rippling illusions. I did not know sorters was a rule. Was a word. I would have gone with duelist. I know duelist is a word. Alright, in your fight phase, just after an enemy unit has selected its targets, you pick one of your you pick your unit from your yeah, you know how this is. You know the drill. It's one of the units getting attacked. Roll a d6. Then you can spend a flux token to re-roll the results. Until the end of the phase, each time an attack targets your unit on an unmodified hit roll of the roll, after any rerolls, even if the original hit roll would have... the attack sequence ends, even if the original hit roll would have been a critical hit. So, nope, you're done. Yeah, basically, you roll a die, and then literally every die of that number that gets rolled, your opponent just removes them from their hit roll pool because it doesn't work. And it spells it out for you in case you couldn't... If you roll a 2 and choose to spend 1 flux token to re-roll the result, and the re-roll is a 6, then until the end of the phase, each time an attack targets your unit on an unmodified hit roll of 6, the attack sequence ends. That attack fails to hit, and no critical effects, for example, lethal hits, are resolved. Delirium Unmade. 1 CP strategic ploy. Between one heartbeat and the next, the demons of Tzeentch vanish as though they were never there. Yet this jarring respite will last only long enough for their victims to question their sanity before the onslaught begins anew. End of your opponent's fight phase. I'm guessing this is an uppy-downy. One of your units are not engaged. Alternately, you can spend 1 flux token and target 2 of your units from your army instead. Remove your units from the battlefield and place them in strat reserves. You combine that with Impossible Eclipse. Yeah. This is a crazy stratagem section, guys. It's so good. It is so good. This is not going to be... This is definitely not a... Like... This detachment, Legion of Excess. This is like... the lull, 2 keepers of secrets, bunch of demonettes, some seekers, and just have fun screaming and charging into the foe, and just benefit from having 2 Death Stars on the battlefield, basically. With overlapping auras where you have a super Death Star in the middle. This is on near brainless detachment to just have fun with. Although you would almost think that you'd want that to be the Khorne detachment. The Khorne detachment is much, much more strategic. But this detachment, once you get good at playing this, I legit think you get good at playing this detachment, you will be crazy. Like, I think this is an S tier detachment. It is definitely not a detachment that's going to be easy to play. There are drawbacks. I mean, for crying out loud, you're giving your opponents rerolls. You are literally giving your opponents rerolls. And again, you're not taking inescapable lie because you're never going to benefit from it. But like, this is just a crazy detachment. This stratagem section is wild. This is a very, very Tzeentch detachment. And if you are one of those people who can, make plot and scheme the way Tzeentch would be proud of, you're gonna have so much fun. Yeah, guys, this is a good detachment. Enjoy it. All right. Time for some jolly 'tis the season spirit. Melancholic Miasma. To fight the demons of Nurgle is to endure their entropic assaults upon both the physical and spiritual battlefields. The horror of inevitable decay claws at the souls of their victims, even as the demons' splintered talons rake their flesh, heralding nightmarish putrefaction and impending doom. While an enemy unit is within 9 inches of one or more of your units from your army, that enemy unit is within your army's shadow of chaos. In each player's command phase, select one enemy unit from your army's shadow of chaos. That unit must take a battle shock test. Simple, but effective. And the nice thing about this normally battle shock rules are very situational. So battle shock rules, speaking from experience, normally battle shock rules are very situational. If you're playing against a high leadership army, battle shock rules, or I guess I should say a good leadership army now that leadership is inverted. Then battle shock rules are nice to have, but you cannot rely or plan around them. You have to adjust your plans and kind of like hope for things to happen, but have a backup plan. Because I have legitimately had times when I have hit an opponent with Shadow in the Warp, and like one unit that was nowhere near the battlefield failed it. So, yeah. Normally, battle shock rules are situational, but this is any unit. You get to pick any unit. So same thing as with the Khorne, or was it Slaanesh? Same thing. Was it Khorne or Slaanesh that got it? That got the. Yeah. Okay. Slaanesh. Same thing with Sensory Excruciation. You can pick one of your units. Your opponent somehow has one of your Great Unclean Ones close to dying. Boom. Oh, my Great Unclean One passed its battle shock test. It regains wounds. So this is not as situational as battle shock rules normally are. You get to do it in each command phase, not just your command phase. So and again, I can tell you from experience, when you do battle shock a unit, you want to battle shock it in your opponent's command phase, because then it spends the entire battle round. It spends 2 turns worth of the game battle shocked, where they can't spend stratagems. And I'm hoping as they continue to like rebalance the rules and rewrite some of the or make wording more consistent throughout the rules, I'm hoping all of the OC buffs will become, if your unit is not battle shocked, so that basically if your unit is battle shocked, you cannot control an objective. Because right now there are lots of ways for battle shocked units to control objectives. So yeah, this is definitely not an S tier detachment rule by any stretch of the imagination, but it is a good, generic, useful detachment rule to have. But of course the big thing is that it spreads your Shadow of Chaos. Now, unfortunately, this is not the same thing as with like what they did with the balanced data slate, where your Great Unclean One has an aura of the Shadow of Chaos around them, like Be'lakor does. That is not the same. This is not the same thing. So you are not deep striking your units into this Shadow of Chaos. It just makes enemy units. It makes basically all of your units essentially within your Shadow of Chaos. So it makes all of your units within your Shadow of Chaos, and it makes enemy units within Shadow of Chaos. Oh no, it's see. Okay, no, it doesn't even do that. It just makes enemy units. Okay, so it just makes enemy units within Shadow of Chaos. So your units still have to be within their Shadow of Chaos. But again, a Great Unclean One is always within the Shadow of Chaos. So, but yeah, this is a good, useful rule. It's not overpowered or anything like that. It's not S tier. I'm going to say it's an A tier rule, but it's still a good rule. All right. Canker Blight, Aura, 15 points. The mere presence of this corrosive monstrosity is enough to rot the very stuff of reality and all who inhabit it. Nurgle model only. Each time an enemy unit, excluding monsters and vehicles, that is within 6 inches of the bearer, fails a battle shock test, the bearer can use this enhancement. So this is every time, and it is can. If it does, one model in that unit is destroyed, chosen by the controlling player. So if you don't want to let your opponent take away their unit, say because like you're trying to charge that unit, okay, each time the bearer uses this enhancement, no mortal wounds are inflicted by your army's demonic terror rule. So yeah. So the main reason you will use this is when you're fighting multi-wound models. That's when you'll use this. So, and I mean, there are units that have multi-wound models. Obviously you can't pick the big ones. You can't pick any of the big units. Although I think you can pick Abaddon. Now, granted, Abaddon's going to be hard. I'm pretty sure Gatskull is monster. Infantry character, epic hero turn. Yeah, he's infantry. Abaddon fails his leadership test while fighting you. Bam, bye Abaddon. Cool. So this is really good. This is a good enhancement. It's only 15 points too. So yeah, you're taking this. Now, again, it's going to be a bit situational, but you've got additional triggers, chances to use it. And again, it is each time you can either kill a model, or just let Demonic Terror do its thing. You get to choose which one of those. Now, you do have to be within 6 inches, but like, again, you put this on a Great Unclean One. It's like you can very reliably just march a Great Unclean One up the board. That is not hard. All right. Oh, by the way, prediction. I haven't read, I swear. Prediction. This detachment will not get a move through walls. Prediction. It's Nurgle. Nurgle is slow and purposeful. It won't get to move through walls. All right, Maggot Maws, 15 points. This demon's flesh is pocked with foul mouths that mumble curses to rot the minds of all who hear them. Nurgle model only. In your shooting phase, select one enemy unit within 6 inches of the bearer. That enemy unit must take a battle shock test. We have a theme. Then roll 1d6. On a 3-up, that enemy unit suffers d3 mortal wounds. So, you force your opponent to pick a battle shock test. They're already within 6 inches of the bearer, so they're already within your Shadow of Chaos. So they fail their battle shock test, they take D3 mortal wounds. They pass their battle shock test, they don't take DDC mortal wounds. But even if they pass it, on a 3-up, that enemy suffers D3 mortal wounds. Each time the bearer uses his enhancement, no. I'm a sad panda. Oh well, it's still additional battle shock tests. So this one is useful. I don't see anything stopping you from combining Canker Blight and Maggot's Maws. So if you've got like your Great Unclean One marching up with Canker Blight, just having a good old time, jolly old time, and then you've got like a Herald with Maggot Maws, I don't see anything stopping these from stacking. But basically this is an extra battle shock that might do 3-ups, or on a 3-up it might do D3 mortals. So it's not bad. Canker Blight is better. I think this could honestly, I think Canker Blight should probably go up in cost, and maybe this one go down to 10, but all right, Droning Shroud, also an aura, 35 points. This sentient cowl of demonic plague flies roars and whirls with cyclonic force, obscuring even the most hulking and bloated demonic bearer. One of your monster models, while a friendly... I think Beasts of Nurgle are monsters, but they're not characters. I'm trying to think. There might be... I can't remember if Hortiflix... Yeah, I can't remember how to pronounce his first name. I can't remember if Big Snail Dude is an epic hero or not. I think he is. I think he's an epic hero. But there might be another monster you can put this on besides a Great Unclean One. While a friendly Nurgle unit is within 6 inches of the bearer, that unit can only be targeted by ranged attacks if the attacking model is within 18 inches. Yeah, even at 35 points, this is worth taking. This is great. Nurgle models already tend to be very durable. This is going to make them even more so. All right, Font of Spores, another aura, 20 points. This entity's foul breath expels clouds of rust pox spores, which gnaw to all they settle on. Pick another one of your monsters. While a friendly Nurgle unit is within 6 inches of the bearer, improve the armor penetration characteristic of weapons equipped on the model by 1. This is another crazy freaking enhancement section. In fact, I would say this is potentially even better than the Slaanesh one is. So yeah, this is great. I think you take all 3 auras. I think you take all 3 auras and you Death Star the crap out of this. This is great. This is a good start. Also not quite as brainless as the Slaanesh one is. All right. Seeping Virulence. 1 CP battle tactic. Repugnant fifth. I want to take the Repugnant Fifth. Repugnant filth wells from the weapons, gaping maws and open wounds of these demons, slopping across the foe and causing swift and virulent rot wherever it finds the slightest way in. Use in any fight phase. One of your Nurgle units from the army that has not been selected to fight this phase until the end of the phase. Each time a model in that unit makes an attack, an unmodified hit roll of 5 scores a critical hit. And does Nurgle have lethal hits in its index? I wonder. So that's good. All right, 1 CP, Rotten Renewal. Strategic Play Stratagem. Rather than lumber across the battlefield, these demons rot away to nothing before hatching anew from canker blooms wherever they wish to be. Ooh, this is still not as flavorful as the fluff as the Death Guard one, where it is like, I literally have a picture, like, I want someone to make a comic where, like, Celestine is, like, hovering over a fallen Gemini, and then, like, doves and rainbows and holy light, and the Gemini comes back healed. And, with a nice, beautiful, green and eloquent, like, cursive heal over their heads in the comic. And then I want the, a biologist putrefier to be just, like, watching. And then just get one of those thoughtful expressions. And then raises his arms. And then a bunch of flies just come and just puke on him. So it's not that as flavorful as that stratagem. But still, this is really flavorful. Man, Nurgle gets to have so much fun with all of the craziness they came up with for it. Because in order for it to be Nurgle, you have to accomplish two things. One, you've got to be disgusting. Two, you have to be jolly. If you can't laugh when you're playing Nurgle, you shouldn't be playing Nurgle. All right. In your movement or your charge phase... Oh, I was wrong. I admit it. I was expecting... They came up with a fun reason for it, though. Boy, did they come up with a fun and flavorful way to give it to them. But man, I was expecting them to stay slow and ponderous. But yep, they get to just phase through terrain. All right. Fever Visions. 1 CP battle tactic. A plague of waking nightmares races through the enemy ranks, leaving foes reeling in the grip of nauseating visions that curdle into soul-destroying reality. Use either in your shooting phase or any fight phase. 1 unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot or fight. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit makes an attack, add 1 to the hit roll. After your unit has finished making its attacks, select 1 enemy unit hit by 1 or more of those attacks. That enemy unit must take a battle shock test. And guess what? If there was in combat, there was in your Shadow of Chaos. So that's 1 CP. 1 CP for +1 to hit is already good. Like, that's not like a crazy stratagem, but 1 CP for +1 to hit is definitely something you're going to use. 1 CP for +1 to hit and the opponent's unit has to battle shock. Like, yeah. All right, Merc Shadows, 1 CP battle tactic stratagem. With the battlefield swathed in an including miasma of unreality, Nurgle demons may loom out of the haze, solidifying from amidst thrumming fly clouds or even rising out of the filth without warning. Use in your movement phase, 1 infantry unit from your army. Until the end of the phase, each time your unit makes a normal move, add 5 inches to the moved characteristics of models in your unit. Guys, what is it about Grotmas giving Nurgle speed? Like, slow and ponderous my ass. 5 inches. Now, granted, there are, I'm pretty sure there are 4-inch move characteristic models in Nurgle. But still. All right. Fetid Resurgence, 2 CP. So it looks like all of them got a 2 CP strat. We've got one. We got one that's utter garbage, one that's overpriced, and then we've got one that's legitimately good. So let's see how they did for Nurgle. This is a strategic ploy. As the power of the plague god saturates the battlefield, fresh demonic life blooms from the septic corpse mulch that bubbles underfoot. You use it during your command phase. You pick a unit from your army that's on the battlefield. Return up to 1 destroyed model to your unit, or up to D3 destroyed models instead if your unit is a battle line unit, with their full runes remaining. If it is a monster unit, 1 model in your unit regains D3+1 lost wounds instead. The only thing I think that might justify the 2nd CP here is the fact that it's flexible. Because a lot of times what you'll see that a lot of these don't let you target your monsters or your big units with it, like monsters or vehicles or stuff like that. You can only target an infantry unit. So this is definitely 2nd place. This is 2nd place of the 2 CP strats. But, so I still think it might be overpriced. I'm not sure you're going to use it. I mean, this is definitely not reinforcements, right? Like, You're not bringing back a whole unit of plague bearers, let alone a whole great unclean one. But it's like it's still useful. Like, if you can use this, you'll want to, but you might avoid using it just because you've got other good strats to use. And these demon detachments are going to be they're going to be CP hungry. All right, Plague of Woes, 1 CP strategic ploy. Even as one band of foes gives into despair, their sorrows spread like a virus to the minds and souls of others, the enemy's woes multiplying by the moment. Using your opponent's command phase before selecting any targets for the Melancholic Miasma detachment rule, pick a Nurgle unit. Until the end of phase, after an enemy unit takes a battle shock test as a result of the Melancholic Miasma detachment rule, select one other enemy unit within 9 inches of your unit. That enemy unit must take a battle shock test. All right. So basically, 1 CP, you get to inflict 2 battle shocks instead of 1. All right. Yeah, this is going to, these are all going to be CP hungry. This is another good stratagem section. So we've got a great enhancement section. We've got a good stratagem section, and we've got a useful detachment rule. These are all good detachments. The weakest one, unfortunately, is Khorne. Unfortunately, yeah, the weakest one, in my opinion, is Khorne. I do think the strongest in the hands of a skilled player is Scintillating Legion. I think the Tzeentch detachment is god tier in the hands of the right player. And I hope we'll get a chance to see that. Now, there is one big drawback to these detachments, and that is the drawback that happens to a lot of detachments, in that they only affect one type of unit in your army. Now, this is better than a lot of those other detachments because each gods do have a roster to them. But in many cases, those rosters are smaller than the Votann roster. So if you're going to go pure mono god, you're not going to be playing with a large number of units. But you don't have to play pure mono god. Again, you can put Nurglings in any of these units. You can put Seekers, or not Seekers. No, maybe I was meaning Seekers. You can put Seekers in any of these units. Or any of these armies. You can still mix in the really good demon units, let alone adding in like Be'lakor or Shalaxi or the like. So now you're probably not going to, because if you're playing these, you're probably going to want to play as mono god as possible. You're only going to be, splashing in the other color of magic, so to speak. And you're going to want to take like 2 or 3 of your greater demons to helm your army. And you're going to want to put good auras on them, put all the good auras or good buffs on them, so that you are really getting the most out of your detachment. But I do think these are good. I don't think they're going to make demons S tier, although maybe this one might. Like, Tzeentch might legitimately... Tzeentch is already pretty good to begin with. This might make Tzeentch S tier. Right now, demons in the meta are a really good, solid army. They're like a near perfect, like, this is like fair 40k army. They're not too strong, they're not too weak, but I haven't finished going through all of the changes in the MFM. Sisters got triple nerfed, so that's one big threat faction that has been brought down. Guard has also gotten triple nerfed, but their triple nerf isn't as bad as the Sisters triple nerf is. It still does hit a lot of their good units. But like the triple nerf that hits Sisters is like part of that triple nerf is their army role, not detachments, but like, and they did lose a detachment too. Like Bringers of Flame got nerfed pretty badly. But the Sisters army role got significantly nerfed if you have not heard yet. So Sisters were already a meta threat, are one of the meta threats, and they got brought down. Guard got brought down. I don't think they got brought down as much as Sisters, which is kind of sad because Guard is a stronger army than Sisters is right now. And I think they are still going to be a stronger army than Sisters when the dust settles from the balance patch. But still, and then GSC also got nerfed. I haven't seen just how badly GSC got nerfed yet. I have read the change to their army rule, but I need to read more and do a little bit of more thinking about how that's going to affect things. But yeah, GSC is definitely also going to be coming down. I'm like, just from reading their army role, they are no longer S tier. They are no longer an S tier faction. So yeah, GSC is coming down. So with all the big meta boogeymen coming down in power, if you are middle of the road, if you're a good solid army, you go up a tier potentially. So this is good news for demons. These detachments are good news for demons in general. Honestly, there has only been one detachment that I've thought was fail, and that was the Thousand Suns detachment. I didn't think it was particularly fun or fluffy. It was just too much like the index detachment they already had, to the point where I'm kind of worried that that's going to be replacing the index detachment when they get their codex. I think kind of like the Thousand Suns need a ground up rewrite. Like, I honestly think that K-Suns just need a ground up rewrite. But yeah, these have been great. Like, even the weakest detachment we got was, big surprise, the Imperial Agents detachment. And even then, at least that detachment was fun. Like, no, it is legitimately a bad detachment, but it is a fun, silly, fluffy detachment. And so if you just want to play a fun, silly narrative game, you can use that detachment. But we've seen a lot of fun and fluffy detachments, and we've even already seen somebody already has managed to take the Warriors Onslaught to a GT and won with it. So yeah, we're going to see some fun things happening in the meta in January. So that is it for today. I'm going to rank this. I'm thinking Tzeentch, Nurgle, Slaanesh, Khorne, as far as the rankings of these. I really think that a Tzeentch player, a good Tzeentch player with this detachment, is going to do crazy stuff. And hopefully both you and your opponent are going to have fun doing that because of just all of the craziness that's going to happen. Nurgle is just a nice, good, solid detachment with nice, good rules and the potential to make some really nice Death Stars. Slaanesh is a relatively simple detachment that is, again, has that Death Star potential to it. And then Khorne is just a good solid detachment that you're going to need to put a lot of play effort and skill into to get the most out of, but you will definitely be able to have success with it. So that's it. I am going to be logging off, taking a quick break, grabbing a snack, grabbing more water, and then I'm switching over to Path of Exile 2 for my nightly vlog. So I do hope if you're still listening, you will join me there. Until then, I'm Divine Erdrick, and I will see you all in the 41st millennium.